Imagine this. You just spilled coffee on yourself in front of someone you really wanted to impress.
Does your inner critic immediately jump in to dominate your inner monologue? Ugh, why did I just do that?
Do you find yourself reliving the moment of embarrassment over and over? Do you feel regret or maybe easily getting into a shame spiral?
Do you struggle with forgiving yourself? Or maybe you avoid heavy emotions only to have them bubble up later, like yelling at the cashier at the grocery store, or maybe a little bit of road rage?
Yeah. And do you sometimes feel like you're the only person that feels this way? Are you nodding your head yes right now? Keep listening for a dose of relief.
Guess what? We all feel this way from time to time. It's totally normal. On this podcast, we reveal the messy bits about ourselves without judgment. It's a space where we can reflect, grow, and process our experiences.
And maybe we can even laugh about our actions, attitudes, and behaviors, where we can speak about our past and learn from it.
So, are you longing for a life with less worry and more joy? Let's get started. Hey there, Victoria here with my co-host
Shadoe.
And welcome to the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. How are you doing today, Shadoe?
I'm pretty great. Like I feel, I don't even know, like effervescent maybe? Like I feel like
Ooh,
bubbly
I like that
and
word.
like uplifted and like just feeling really good today. I think as much as it's still pretty hot, there's been a really nice breeze the last couple nights. So I've been going on like longer walks and just enjoying being outside during the sunset. And it's such a nice feeling. How about you?
I'm like tired.
Oh,
Tired today. So we're the opposite. What's your number
yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think?
Ooh, probably like an 8.5. Yeah, there's room for
Yeah,
improvement, but yeah.
I'd probably say I'm like a 5. I had like a really long
Wow.
week. I had to go to a celebration of life for
Oh,
one of
okay.
my friends' moms, and
That's hard.
I've given away a lot of energy that I wanted to give away,
Yeah.
but haven't been focusing on myself, been focusing on giving people the support and love that they deserve and need. So I'm, as an introvert, I'm depleted, and now I need some like alone time to reset myself.
Right. Well, hopefully we get through this podcast episode pretty quickly so that you can recharge. Do you have like a cause for applause that like might make you feel a little uplifted?
So last week I was at my cottage. My cottage is like 100-year-old log cabin that my great grandpa built on this lake, like 2 mountains in Montreal. We also have this dock that we have to put in and take out every year. That's also like 100 years old that my great grandpa built. It's like
amazing.
Super heavy. It's a stilt dock. So, it's up on poles.
Yep.
And it's super heavy. And you take it apart piece by piece. And every piece is just like this wood that has survived like 100 years. And last year I wasn't strong enough to help put it in because I had only had my surgery a couple months before.
Right.
And this year I went up with one of my friends and her 13-year-old daughter and her 13-year-old daughter's friend. And we put it in.
Wow.
And I was so shocked by how strong, first of all, 13-year-old girls are.
And
but then I was like really happy with my strength too, because it's always a good judge of strength, because it's a yearly thing that happens, putting the dock in and taking it out. And so I feel strong. So I guess my cause for applause is there are patterns in my life that are showing me that my body is getting strong again. And that feels good.
Yeah, that's really great. I find it interesting that like, I feel like I was probably like 13, 14 is probably when I was like one of my strongest. Like, I don't know. Like, I think per pound, I was probably my strongest.
Yeah, never
around
underestimate
like 13,
the power
14.
of puberty.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think there's also you haven't faced as many, I guess, challenges that like create this narrative that you're not strong or that you're not good. So then like you do feel a little bit more like, oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to try this. And,
like you're not as strong as like women like
Right.
exactly what you're saying. Those like you haven't quite faced the like you're not strong because you're a woman and you're still in the
Mm-hmm.
transitioning from the hanging off a monkey bars. You know how hard it is to hang off monkey bars?
Oh yeah,
And we used to do that all the time. Like I think about that.
totally.
I'm like, if I went to a playground right now and tried to cross the monkey bars, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think about how often I would ride my bike and like looking back at some of those pictures and like my legs are so shapely and
Yeah.
tan and like, oh my gosh. Gertie. Sorry, she's barking. She doesn't
Right.
she's
I
feeling
just had
strong too, I guess.
yeah. What about you? Do you have a cause for applause?
I totally do. And okay, it is related. I was gonna say it's not related, but it is. I'm going to the Barbie movie tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I can't wait to see it.
I'm so excited. We're going to an early screening because we're total dorks. Yes, it is early. I'm very excited, but we live in Toronto, right? And I think sometimes I forget that like we live in a big city just because I'm so used to it. This is where I live. This is my home,
Yeah.
whatever. So I forget things that like, oh yeah, early screenings are going to happen in Toronto. So
I
yeah,
cannot wait to see it. And we'll have to have a debrief
yeah.
the next time we record.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
hope it's not a flop. I'm so excited for it. I
Yeah.
really I love Ryan Gosling.
Mm-hmm.
I love the concept of this movie. I'm so excited.
Me
Yeah.
too. The one kind of funny thing that keeps happening is whenever my husband tells people that we're going to go see the Barbie movie, people are like responding with like, "Oh, so Barbie won over Oppenheimer," and like it's almost kind
Oh.
of like cloaked in this misogynistic response of like, "Oh, I guess your wife's dragging you to Barbie," and like my husband's like, "No, I go to the
So
movies to
annoying.
escape my reality, not get even more bummed out." Like,
I feel like I don't know, you can't even really compare the two. One's like educational and one's gonna
mm-hmm.
be yeah, escapism, but also I also am hoping that it's educational. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that
I
it's
think it
like
will
breaking the
be.
misogynistic norms or the do you know what I mean? That's what I'm
Hmm.
hoping for in the Barbie movie.
Yeah, I'm also hoping for like really strong directorial choices from Greta
Yeah.
Gerwig.
Yeah.
I think I've noticed even in the trailer things like the way the Barbies move are like they're being controlled by little kids. So like she floats down from her dream house, right? She doesn't take the
Right.
stairs. Like it's very
Right.
much like, yeah, those kinds of little things like I think are going to be really sharp, and I really look forward to that part of it. And yeah, I think the storyline's going to be good. Yeah, and then I know you don't like pink, but I do love all the pink that's
I know you
happening
love
right
pink.
now, especially that Barbie like hot pink, but like hot but still dark. Like I don't know, I love that shade of pink, so I'm excited.
Well, that's a good cause for plus.
And maybe that's also part of why I feel so bubbly because like I have this to look forward to tomorrow night. So
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it. I can't wait to see it myself and then for us to have a debrief because I think we'll
yeah,
probably have an interesting conversation about it.
I think so.
Should we get into it?
Probably. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
How about you go first?
Okay. I have an experience I need to let go of in order to move forward. I regret not learning marketing. I feel like something about how to market oneself is something I can't quite understand. When I see other people do it, I'm happy for them, and yet I still have this big block. I don't know if it's just that I don't understand marketing stuff or if it's my own self-confidence issues. But I also feel like as soon as I understand one platform, another one pops up or the rules change completely. The consequences of this regret are cyclical. I struggle with the marketing piece, and then my projects don't grow. I then use this evidence that the project itself is not good enough, so it's a waste of time and resources and all these other things. So why would I even market it? However, I'm now learning that you have to market things if you want people to see them. So I need to forgive myself for not wanting to push through this barrier and appear humble because I did everything I could with the tools I had at the time, and that's okay. That is who I was, and I have grown. I'm still a bit apprehensive, but overall relieved. I know I'm capable of learning how to be a good marketer, and my projects are worthy of investing in.
Would you like feedback or just to be heard?
Feedback would be good.
Because I have a couple curious questions.
Yeah, for sure.
As an entrepreneur, I feel the same way. I have lots of friends that are female entrepreneurs. Perhaps you listening are a female entrepreneur. So my first question is, when did this regret kind of start for you? When were you like, oh, I need to learn marketing more?
Oh, like recently. Like even though like I've been trying all these different projects and, promoting them in this kind of like, oh, if you want to check this out, you could check this out kind of way. And then I would say like maybe about 3 months ago, I kind of got the wake up call that if I want to have an audience, like I need to put myself out there a little bit more freely. And then that turned into regret around not getting it. Like I would watch YouTube videos, I would try to practice stuff on Canva, and things weren't quite converting. Like I would see all these tips about like this is what you do to grow your audience or whatever, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark. And so I started internalizing that it's not that my marketing sucked, it's that I sucked. So
yeah, so you went to a place of shame.
Yeah.
Right? Like shame is I'm a bad person, guilt is I did a bad thing, shame is I am a bad thing, right? So you went to a place of shame. Interesting.
Yeah. And then like again, I find it so easy to do it for other people. Like if and I think there is just this general idea that marketing yourself is kind of cringy, but at the same time, like how is anyone going to know about it if you don't market and you don't hit many different ways of marketing?
Yep. The cringiness about it. Is it that you didn't want to do marketing at all or to sell yourself at all or your products or whatever it is you're making, including this podcast, right? Because you didn't want to do that like bullhorn type of marketing, like because it didn't feel genuine to you and then you were judging yourself about it and you're like, that's not me, so I don't want to do it. Because I know I've definitely felt that way.
It's not even about the type of marketing, it's just the marketing at all. Like again, I live downtown Toronto, so I'm just inundated with marketing constantly. Yeah. Even if my TV's off, if all my devices are off and I go and sit on the balcony, there is still easily like 40 billboards I can see from my balcony. So like I'm always being advertised to. And I think that just becomes exhausting and I didn't want to add to that noise.
You didn't want to be part of the what is the saying? A cog in the wheel or whatever. You
like the monster that is marketing. Like everyone's competing for eyeballs and clicks, and I didn't want to. I was like, oh, if my product's good enough, it will just not need that.
Yeah, but that's not the way the world works.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a world when social media first started, it might have, but now everybody's on social media, so you have to find the way to do that. And then I guess like my other question is, and I'm relating to everything they're saying, by the way.
Okay, great.
Is do you believe in the products, right? Like,
yeah.
At the beginning, before you got into the I need to market this, did you really believe that what you were doing would create change in the world or good change, or would be something valuable to put out to the world? And then the idea of marketing made you shy away from it?
I think that's a very accurate description of what would happen each time. And then I would just like walk away from it. I think even applying for jobs is really difficult for this.
Yeah, because you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
And then that's where imposter syndrome comes in. So I have a curious question. Are there any projects from the past that you would like to go back to? Or is there any project that you like specifically regret giving up on because of marketing? I
actually mostly think it's this podcast. I don't really want to revisit any of my old things. Like I really just want to move forward and maybe take the lessons I learned from my old things. But I guess also like I was published in an anthology right at the start of the pandemic. And like we had a marketing event planned for March 17th, 2020. And it was going to be the first time I was going to do like a reading from the book. And I was so scared, but I was practicing and all that stuff. And then when the event got canceled because of COVID, I was so relieved. And, so like in that way, I do wish that the book had sold a little bit better. Again, I think that one is easy for me to pick because it's not just me. There's like a whole group of authors that were like given a disservice by
Can you
the lack.
promote it now?
I could promote like right now, right here, right now.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
The name of the book is just the word big. And so it's big, and then there's a colon, and then it's stories about life in plus sized bodies. It's an anthology by 20 writers, maybe more. And each of us wrote an essay about what it is like to be plus size.
Are you proud of it?
Yes, and I go through waves with it. Like sometimes I'm really proud of it, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, ew, I would change. Like I want to go back and edit it, but you can't
Mm.
once it's published, right? So that's just how it be.
So we'll put the link in the notes.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Yeah, what a great question to ask.
And was that hard?
It was. It was actually very
Yeah.
difficult. I feel if I wasn't feeling so uplifted right now, it would have been hard to.
You might have skirted around the
I might
question
have,
when I asked
yeah,
it.
yeah. But I think that right now, because I am feeling so like great, I was able to answer your question. But there was still lots of flip flops going on inside of my belly, and yeah.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
I mean, this was just a 1 minute moment, but I mean, to actually, I think whether it's a passion project of yours, of volunteering, or it's your actual work that you're doing as an entrepreneur, or whether it's just that you want to have a great social media account and reach as many people with your message, it can actually be hard to admit that you're scared to like put in the work to actually put your voice out there, because really what you're doing kind of in this umbrella of marketing is putting yourself out there and saying, hey world, this is my opinion, this is my view, this is something that I think is really cool and I want to give it to you, and I hope that you think it's really cool too.
Right.
That's very vulnerable, right? And it's just you and your voice. That's vulnerable. So of course, like marketing is, I feel it the same way. And I'm glad we're in this podcast together, because part of the reason why we started this podcast, because we think, and I would like to say now, know that like what we have to give to the world is important, and there's important messages happening here. Also to support our projects, like to support the projects you're doing and your social media and the work that you do, because you do amazing work in the world, and to support the work that my Recreo is doing, which is my business. And thank you for being honest. I have one more question. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
How much do you think that cycle of struggle is related to an ADHD cycle of struggle? And how much do you think, because I have the same cycle of struggle,
right?
Do you think that it's perpetuated more because of your ADHD brain? The answer can be no. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, because I'm not even sure how to answer it, but my hunch is that the marketing would fall into finish line work. So how that's usually kind of captured is like you get the project going, you do the research, you get the draft done, and then you're done. Because like, why would I go back and edit it? Why would I now go through the pain of marketing it? Why would, like, there's so many unfinished projects that I have around the house. And a lot of it is that like I get the dopamine I need out of all the like initial interesting stages. And then when it comes to tying the knot, or, saying that this is actually completed, that's where I struggle the most. So I think because that's where I struggle, and then like the marketing piece is actually maybe beyond the finish line. So like, like it's not even a piece I was considering. It was just like, no, I'll do the work and then get it out there. And then, like the marketing was just not even hitting, like, or I would avoid it or whatever else. So it might be related to that stuff. I think it is mostly related to self-worthiness, but that's also related to ADHD. So
yeah, it's complex. That's all interconnected. I was just curious because the way you described the cycle is, I do that too. Right. And we feel good when we like do some of the work and not all of it. Our brain actually tricks us. It gives us like a dopamine hit when we're doing work, which is our motivator hormone. And then we're like, oh, we're done.
Yeah.
Have you like planned a trip and then never went on the trip, but you had fun planning it? Or have you ever practiced having a difficult conversation with someone in your mind, like a friend or a family member, and then you actually think you had it? Like you see them a while later and you're like, remember when we talked about this? And they're like, we never talked about that. Like that's happened to me before. I'm like, we
That's
never talked
funny.
about that. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it to someone that like, we never had that conversation
Right.
because the mind is so easily tricked in good ways and bad ways,
Yeah.
right? Like the brain is so fascinating and the mind is so fascinating, but it's so easily tricked into believing. And
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how much we want to think we're in control, 95% of what we're doing is is controlled by our subconscious brain.
Absolutely.
Like 95% of the time,
Yeah.
the subconscious brain's in the driver's seat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because I'm always practicing conversations in my head. But
Mm.
what I actually wanted to talk about was the way the brain tricks us. I have this pattern, and maybe it should be a separate regret, where like when I am looking for employment opportunities, I scour the internet, right? I'm on Charity Village, I'm on Work and Culture, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm like gathering all these different jobs. And then I send the descriptions to myself. And then it's like, my brain's like, great, you applied. And it's like, no, it
But you didn't
didn't.
actually apply. Yeah.
All you did was send the description to yourself. But because that's the task, like the next day, instead of like looking at those job ads and actually applying to jobs, I just repeat the cycle over.
Yeah.
Because like I'll just keep looking. Anyway, I've been getting better at that because like I literally have been meeting with my ADHD coach this month, but it's like because I know I'm meeting with her, that means I can do the work. Like I can be like, oh, right,
Accountability.
I do absolutely need the accountability. And then I get embarrassed that I need the accountability. So then it's a whole
But we
other
all do,
thing.
right? Like back to
Yeah.
like the brain being so easily tricked, and the brain is also super lazy. This is why part of the work that I do with my wellness coaching and life coaching
Mm-hmm.
is just, I meet with the client for half an hour once every 2 weeks or once a week. And it really is accountability coaching. That's what it
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
sometimes we need that carrot dangled in front of us, or it can also, I mean, I don't want to use the word fear, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have to get this done so I can get this, so this person's proud of me.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it can be a good motivator. As long as there
Mm-hmm.
isn't fear in there, as long as you're like, I want to do the work because then I'm going to be proud to show it to my ADHD coach or to my wellness coach or to my life coach because I want to celebrate with them. And we kind of display that here with the cause for applause, right? Like I want to do the work so that it's my cause for applause so that I can share it with someone and someone else can make me feel good about it. That's really
Mm-hmm.
what accountability is.
Right.
Have you ever heard the stat? If you have a personal trainer versus working out on your own, you get results 75% faster with the personal trainer.
Yeah.
It's just accountability. My friend calls it like a body, like you just sometimes need a body double,
Right.
like a work body double, right? Like let's
Yeah.
just go sit down and do work together. Or maybe you need a person of authority, and that's what the coach is for you, is this person of authority
Mm-hmm.
/ cheerleader. I appreciate that. I always say this. I say this a lot. You've heard me say it. Everybody needs a coach. Even coaches need coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We need coaches to help us practice, to help us organize, to help us think, to help us be accountable. But if you think you don't need a coach, like look at Olympic athletes. They're the
Right.
best in the world and they have coaches. Look at professional athletes. They have coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Look at mentorship, right? Doctors have other doctors that are their mentors. Like everybody needs a coach in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to reverse the thought around, I don't know what it is that people think they don't need coaches for some things, right? Like, I don't know if it's shame, if it's guilt, if it's ego saying I can do it on my own, or maybe even like therapy. We can throw therapy in there too, right? Like having a therapist. So having a coach, having a therapist, having a mentor, whatever it is, we have this thing where we think we can do things on our own, and it's stronger to do things on our own and it's weaker to have a coach. It's actually the opposite.
Right.
Our brains need support.
Mm-hmm.
Outside support.
Yeah.
We need outside perspective to function as a human being. We need outside perspective.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like financials, obviously. Like I think some people, instead of admitting that they don't have the money for it, they'll just say, oh no, I don't need that. And bringing it back to even my share here, like everyone needs a marketer. Everyone needs like extra help marketing. And we just say either I'll do it myself or like, why would I spend money on that?
Yeah.
Like if the product's good, I don't need a market or a marketing professional. But like, if the product's good and you don't need a marketing professional, then why do billboards exist? Why do commercials exist? Why do the same 10 companies
Yeah.
like just really spend so much money on getting us to spend money?
And how do we
Right?
tap into that as like
Mm-hmm.
small business entrepreneurs or as people wanting to share something to the world?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
complex, but I don't want to end it on it's a complex, oh
Yeah,
poor
yeah,
us
yeah.
note, but like it's complex, but it's totally doable, one small and slow step at a time, one small and slow
Absolutely.
solution at a time. But what did you say? It's finish lining? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I would just say finish line
Finish line work,
tasks.
finish line
Like,
tasks.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's
Get
things,
to the finish line.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes like you just don't know where the finish line is, or like I mean, there's also this Paramore song called "I'm Running Out of Time," and one of the lyrics is like, "Intentions only get you so far." And
Mm.
so, and I think that's really relevant here too, is that like I intended to send my father a Father's Day present, but it's still sitting here in the box. I literally filled out the card, wrapped the present, put it in a box, and it's still sitting right here on my desk, and it's like almost a month later.
That one's really interesting. I see that pattern a lot, but I've never been able to vocalize it. Like I
Mm,
see that pattern in my clients. I see that pattern in other people in my life. I see that pattern in myself. And the way that I've always vocalized it is like actions speak louder than words, but that's kind of harsh,
right.
right? Say it again. Intention will get you nowhere. Is that what
No,
you said?
intentions only get you so far.
Intentions only get you so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another way of the brain tricking us. Like
Mm-hmm.
we think that the person that we want to do an act of kindness to, so we're like, oh, well, I was going to do this and I had this big plan. And then
Mm-hmm.
our brain tricks us into thinking that we've done it in some way. And then we think that they'll understand why we didn't do, oh, I just got too
Mm-hmm.
tired and I couldn't do whatever.
Yeah.
And we kind of expect them to be okay with that in some ways because we haven't actually communicated anything to them. Like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about when someone says that to you. I
Right.
was gonna like do this thing for your birthday, but I ran out of time. So happy
Mm-hmm.
birthday.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't feel great.
Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't feel special, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, following through. I'm not trying to shame you because you didn't send your
No,
dad a Father's Day
no,
thing,
I
by the
know.
way. I'm
It's
just saying,
fine.
as soon as you said it, I was like, I do stuff like that all the time
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And I forget that I need to communicate it with love, or I need to try my best to follow through on those things because it's about the act of kindness to another human
Mm-hmm.
being. And it's a tough one because my brain totally tricks me into thinking I did it
Yeah.
just by having the intention of doing it.
Right. Right.
And I call them, have you ever heard this term like inspired action?
Inspired action? Okay. No, I don't know.
So, when you're like walking down the street or your mind's wandering and you're like, oh, I should call this person. I haven't talked to them a while. Or it would
Mm,
be nice if I sent them a card about something just because, or you have like an inspired idea of an action to do something, follow through on the inspired action.
mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we think, oh, I had this thought that I should call this person, and then we don't do it for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
or we just don't do it at all. And then we think, oh, I'm still connected to that person, even though I haven't talked to them in a while or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
follow through on the inspired action. There's a
Yeah.
reason your brain or the universe or whatever you believe is telling you, oh, you should pick up the phone and call this person. Like
Mm-hmm.
follow through on that. Cause just by having the thought, we feel good about it, but we'll
Right.
feel even better if we actually take the inspired action.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to transition over to your share for today. Um,
And I thank you for your share though, because I really relate to it.
Thank
I hope
you.
you relate to it too out there because it's not just marketing like a small business. It can be marketing your social media page. It can just be marketing
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Maybe you're on a sports team or you've signed up to do a 10K race and you're doing it for
Right.
charity and you're afraid to ask people to sponsor you because to sign up for the 10K race because there's something. I think that's similar to marketing, right? Like
Absolutely.
being
Yeah.
afraid to ask people to donate to a charity that you're running a race on behalf of or a walk on behalf of or whatever. It's the same thing, right? It's really putting yourself out there in the world saying, I'm doing this thing and I would like your support.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell as many people as I can that I'm doing this thing so that we can spread the word of this thing, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
podcast, project, charity work, whatever it is. And so I just want to thank you because that's a tough one. And I totally relate to what you said today. Totally.
Well, I thank you for that. That's very nice of you. Do you have any kind of like preamble for your share, or do you just want to get into it?
Yeah, no preamble.
Okay,
I think
great.
people will relate to this one. Okay.
Take it away.
I have something I want to let go of in order to move forward. Or I'm going to reframe this. So I have something that I want to change in order to move forward. I guess with my health, I regret not sleeping more. I stay up late at night. I tell myself it's okay to only get 6 hours of sleep because somewhere along the line the standard was six to 8 hours, and so I've always kind of hovered around the six. And sometimes it's 5 hours, especially during rowing season. I'm like, oh, I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning, but I can't get myself to go to bed at 9 so that I actually have 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And so I take a lot of naps, which I don't regret taking naps. I think naps are important. I love naps, but I wish that I had trained myself when I was younger to do the 8 to 10 hours of sleep, because now studies are showing that women actually need 8 to 10 hours. Men need a bit less, women need more. And I am kind of on a mission to retrain myself to get closer to 8 or 9 and farther away from 5 or 6 hours a night. And I guess my regret is not valuing that more. There's something in the wellness industry, or maybe I shouldn't say wellness industry, there's something out there where we think our health is affected more by nutrition, by physical activity, is all valid, because I totally agree with that. But sleep is connected to every single one of those things. And if you get more sleep, you will make better nutritional choices because you won't be craving sugar. So when you are tired, you crave sugar because sugar is a dopamine mimicker. So when you're tired, can you relate to this? When you're tired, you reach for carby things or you reach for sugary things, right? When you're tired, you do less physical activity. When you're tired, you're cranky, you get brain fog, your brain doesn't function to the best of its ability. So that affects your mental health and your emotional health. When you're tired and you don't get enough sleep, your body doesn't heal itself, because when you're sleeping is when your cells are regenerating and when you're healing aches and pains and those sorts of things. So actually everything on the wellness wheel is dependent on sleep. And my regret is that I haven't valued sleep to the extent that I valued fitness, nutrition, emotional health, and all of those things. Because if I could actually get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, it would in the background be helping the rest of all of the wellness that I'm working on. So I guess the consequence of me not getting enough sleep, or I'm missing out on, is it's affecting everything else health wise in my life. So in the past, I did everything I could with the tools I had at the time, and that's okay, because older studies did say 6 to 8 hours. So I've been going on that 6 hour mark, but now we know that that's not true for women, that it's 8 to 10. So I did everything I could with the tools I had or the information I had now, but now this newer information has come up. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to try to get more sleep, because I am worthy of looking after my health, and I deserve to look after my health and my wellness and my body, which I already deeply, deeply believe. But I think sleep is a missing piece for me.
Thank you for sharing, Victoria. Did you want feedback today, or did you just want to share?
You know what? Originally, I was going to say no to feedback, but you can give me a little bit of feedback because I saw you writing, and I'm curious about what you have
Oh,
to
no. I'm just writing because, I
No,
like
no, no.
writing.
I would like it though. You can give me some. You can give me some feedback. You can give me some feedback.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you that you can't, again, I don't like speaking in cliches, but there's a thing about like you can't outrun a bad diet, and you can't out caffeine a bad sleep or something. Like I don't know what the whole
We'll
thing
have to
is.
look that up.
It's
We'll have to
something
look
like
that up.
that though. Like people think you can skip sleep because what are we doing? Nothing. Like it feels like we're doing nothing. But when I'm sleeping, I have a very active dream life. Like I sometimes wake up tired just from the adventures I have in my dreams. So I love sleep, and I just think it's a really I like that the regret is not about not getting sleep. but the regret is in the not valuing the sleep. And like the wellness wheel, I think that's something we'll have to link to in the notes as well. But I also think, like, could it have been possible? Could it have been possible to also value sleep when you were making all these other big changes as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I choose to stay up late watching TV. I should not watch the second episode of whatever I'm binging, and I should go to bed an hour earlier. And
Okay,
like that
fair.
is what I regret. And that is everything we do in life is a habit or a pattern that our subconscious brain has created for us based on our choices and our
Mm-hmm.
life experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
I've developed this habit. I think I developed this habit of less sleep probably in university, probably around rowing.
Right.
I know I talk about how like those were foundational years for me,
Mm-hmm.
but probably around rowing because I didn't want to miss out. All my friends were staying up late. I didn't want to go to bed at 9. And then I was still getting up at 4:30 for rowing and then going to
Right.
class. So then I developed this habit of like, I can function off of 5 hours of sleep,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I actually can't.
Right.
I just told myself that I can.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, and nobody can actually function off of an average of 5 hours of sleep per night. We just tell ourselves that we can.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And so I'm curious about what would happen. What would happen? I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to try.
Okay.
What would happen if for like a whole month I got 8 to 10 hours of sleep?
Mm.
I'm curious about what the difference would make because I believe it would make a big difference.
I think you should like, even though it would maybe make you stay up even later, like you should like record it like a log, like every day,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the
Yeah.
month, like share your results with us for sure.
Yeah. Like, what would my energy be like? What would my
Yeah.
eating choices be like? What would my emotional health be like? What would my mental health be like? What would my skin
Mm-hmm.
be like?
Right.
What would my wrinkles be like? What would my hair be like? Do you know what I mean? There's so many things that happen while we're sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other question I have then is, have you heard the phrase or the term revenge bedtime procrastination?
No, but I love it. What does it mean?
It's exactly what you're talking about, where like it happens more to people who have like a lot of people in their life that they have to take care of.
Mm,
So caregivers, moms, teachers, like anybody who is constantly being asked things, you know, and then once everyone goes to sleep, they finally have some me time. They finally
mm.
have some time for themselves, and it feels so good that like you can't go to sleep because this is the first time all day that you can just be by yourself.
I
Um,
100% relate to that.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I
But
think
changing the value of sleep, that sleep is me time too. Like sleep is self-care time. Because I
mm,
think how do you feel about naps?
I love naps.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've been having this conversation a lot with members of the My Recreo community and friends and people in my life. And it's almost like 60-40, I think, like
Okay.
60% of people feel guilty about naps. Do you ever remember like this messaging, like, oh, napping's bad because then you won't fall asleep at nighttime? Or if you have a
Mm.
nap, then you're going to wake up groggy because it messes your REM sleep and then you're screwed up for the rest of the day. Well, like studies are actually showing
Yeah.
that that's not actually true, that like you can, if it's not true for babies
Mm.
and kids, why would it be true for adults, right? Like
Right.
when you have a baby and a kid and they have their afternoon nap and their morning nap, and when they have their afternoon nap and their morning nap, they sleep better at nighttime. So
Mm-hmm.
why is it the reverse for adults? It's not.
Again, I think it's just the amount of overwhelming tasks we have to do in a given
Yeah,
day.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So putting the value in the time that we do have to sleep, like I'm going to have a 45-minute nap this afternoon. That's
Mm-hmm.
valuable to me. I'm not going to feel guilty about that. And
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with doing that if I have the time to do it. Right. Or that there's not even if I have the time to do it, that I've set aside the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Mm-hmm.
when you get home from work at 5 o'clock, you have a 20-minute nap and then you
Yeah.
have dinner if you're working a 9 to 5 job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, yeah. So thank you for pointing that out, that my
Yeah.
regret is about not valuing sleep time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about beating myself up and then telling myself I have insomnia and I'm never going to fix this
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah,
Because I think that's where
absolutely.
a lot of people go to is, well, I just can't sleep, so I give up. And so
Mm-hmm.
changing the mindset shift of like, I'm going to intentionally put more value on it than I have been putting on it. And that's the experiment I'm going to do to see if I intentionally put more value on it, what will happen. And if I intentionally try to be better at it, what are the changes that will happen in my body, brain, and mind? But if the first step is the mindset shift around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe you'll feel less desire to take a nap or more. I'm not, again,
yeah,
that could be a whole other column of your little report.
If I get the 8 to 10 hours at night, then I won't be taking, I probably nap 3 or 4 days a week, just like anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Like, no, I'm not taking 3-hour naps, but I do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to do an experiment on myself and I'm going to see what happens.
Nice.
But the first step is putting the value in sleep. Because, what you just said, what was it again?
The revenge bedtime procrastination.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is my me time. I'm going to watch this 1-hour show. But then when you get up the next morning and you haven't had enough sleep, what's the first thought you think? I should have gone to bed earlier because I just want to sleep more.
Yeah.
That for me anyways, that's what happens to me. Right. I'm like, so I get that the revenge bedtime thing. I'm totally doing that. But then in the morning, I'm also totally like saying to myself, I should have slept more because I want more sleep.
Right.
So it's like two battling kind of things, nighttime attitude and morning attitude.
Inside you, there are two wolves.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
I'm glad I asked for feedback. Thank you. Because you just gave me some really good new perspective. So thank you for that.
That's great. Yeah, there's some people in my life who can't nap and it's actually almost humorous. Like when they get up from their naps, it's like they're not on this planet anymore. So
yeah, no, I get that. Like that whole thing, like you get up, you're groggy, whatever, but there has to be some physiological thing behind that that's probably related to their sleep habits at nighttime.
Yeah.
Or whenever they're sleeping. Yeah. But anyways.
Also we've said the word sleep and nap so much that I can like feel myself starting to I don't know what that's about, but I think we should close it there. And I believe you have our mantras to end our episode.
Okay, 3 new breaths for a new season, everybody. I encourage you to come to the front edge of your seat. Put your feet flat on the floor. If you're in a space that is safe for you to do so. If you are driving, please just breathe with us. We're going to do 3 breaths for letting go and to connect into ourself this season. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to shrug your shoulders up to your ears and release them. And just give a couple shrugs up and down. And I just want you to say to yourself, release, release, release. Release, release, release. Releasing any tension, releasing any thoughts to bring yourself into the moment. And just take a big breath to release, a big sigh. So breathing in, breathing out. Now that we've connected into ourself and released, our second breath is the I have everything I need breath, because breath is the only thing you need in this moment. It is the foundation of life and everything builds from there. Taking a big breath in, breathing out. Because I have breath, I have everything I need in this moment. And for our third breath, taking a big breath in, breathing out. I have done everything that I can do today with everything that I have, and that's okay. I am safe. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. This episode of Let's Relieve Regret was produced by Shadoe Ball and Victoria Muir-Garcia. We are an independent podcast supported by you, our listeners.
You can become a supporter by donating $3, $5, or even $8 per month at www.letsrelieveregretpodcast.buzzsprout.com and click on the support button. You can find the link in the show notes.
Our goal is to empower as many women as possible to overcome the shame and guilt that accompanies regret.
If this podcast helped you have an aha moment, Help us spread the word. It's free for you, and it means the world to us.
Please follow us on Instagram at relieve.regret.
Tell 2 friends.
Or leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Find all this information and more in the show notes. Okay,
Bye.
bye.